Yes. In my opinion, the Portland Trailblazers absolutely made the right decision trading Dame to Milwaukee. And I'm going to tell you why. Let's first go over what exactly they got in this three-team deal. So they traded away Damian Lillard and got back Drew Holiday, Deandre Ayton, Toumani Camara, who was just drafted in the late second round by the Phoenix Suns, Milwaukee's 2029 first-round pick, which we now know is unprotected, and 2028-2030 pick swaps, which are both also unprotected. In order to figure out whether the Blazers made the right decision trading Dame to Milwaukee, we have to compare this trade package, this trade deal, with what Miami was offering. And luckily, we have quite a bit of reporting that just came out from Shams about what exactly Miami's final offer was. For their part, the Heat were prepared in July and August to offer up to 3 first-round draft picks, with Tyler Hero going to a third team, and multiple second-rounders and swaps, along with expiring contracts, and 2022 first-round pick Nikola Jovic, per league sources. But the Blazers were disinterested, with each side developing a level of contentiousness. So we don't know exactly what the trade package would have been, because we don't know how involved that third team would have been, but we can pretty safely assume what the Blazers would have gotten from that Miami package had they traded Dame to Miami. So here's my best guess on what they would have gotten in a Tyler Hero trade. They likely would have gotten Kyle Lowry, who's on an expiring contract to match salaries. They likely would have gotten another expiring contract from that third team who received Tyler Hero. They would have gotten Nikola Jovic, who we know is included, 3 first-round picks from Miami, likely 2 pick swaps, and likely 2 to 3 second-round picks. Now, there is a rule in the NBA that teams cannot trade away consecutive years of first-round draft picks. So because of the way Miami's situation works, with them owing their 2025 pick to OKC, the only way they could actually trade 3 first-round picks would be if they renegotiated that trade deal with OKC to push that 2025 draft pick back to 2030. And then Miami would be able to offer their 2024, 2026, and 2028 first-round draft pick. So we can actually be a little more specific here in saying that Miami's best deal, their final offer to Portland, would have included Portland receiving their 24, 26, and 28 draft pick. And of course, you cannot trade your pick swaps in the same year that you trade away your first-round pick. So the pick swaps then would have fallen into 2027 and 2029 most likely. So now we can be more specific and we can compare this trade package to what Portland actually received when trading Damian Lillard to the Bucks. Let's first compare the draft compensation they got from Milwaukee to Miami's 2028 pick and the 27-29 pick swaps. We can assume that all those picks and pick swaps would be unprotected as well. Just comparing those 3 draft assets, Milwaukee's is clearly better simply because they're all pushed a year afterwards. And when you're trading a star player to a contending team, you want draft compensation in return that's as far out into the future as possible, because that makes it more likely that the team that we know is going to be good right now could eventually be bad when you have their draft pick years down the line. So we can toss in those 2 and 3 second-round picks, and we can compare them to the draft assets that Milwaukee got, as well as Toumani Camara, who was literally just a second-round draft pick, and say, okay, those draft assets and players are pretty close to being a wash. That's pretty equivalent in terms of their value. So we don't really know what the Portland Trailblazers are going to get for Drew Holiday. It's very obvious they want to trade Holiday. I imagine Holiday's value on the market, you could at least get a late first-round draft pick for Drew Holiday, a heavily protected first. And if they traded Dame to Miami, the 2024 Miami draft pick they could have offered Portland would exactly be that. So that draft pick was guaranteed pretty much to be a late first-round draft pick. So let's just say Drew Holiday's value is roughly equivalent to that 2024 Miami pick. Then the question simply becomes, if you're the Portland Trailblazers, would you rather have Deandre Ayton, or would you rather have Nikola Jovic and Miami's 2026 draft pick? And if it comes down, in essence, to that, there is no question you take Deandre Ayton. I understand there are Heat fans that are very excited about Jovic, and Jovic just had a really good showing at the FIBA World Cup. He has also barely played any minutes in the NBA, is not a proven quantity at all. And that 2026 Miami pick, is 3 years down the line. If you trade Dame to Miami, Dame has 3 years left on his contract at least. Are you really going to bet that with Damian Lillard on the team under contract, the Miami Heat are going to be bad? Probably not. So that 2026 pick is also likely a late first round draft pick. And as much as most NBA fans in Phoenix and outside of Phoenix dislike Deandre Ayton for very understandable reasons, the guy is still a former number 1 overall pick that has proven to give you up at least above average production at the center position, way above average production at the center position as a young player on winning teams. He still puts up 18 and 10. And there are areas in his game, noticeably his passing and some of his pick and roll defense, that have really gotten better as the years have progressed. And then you add on to the fact that for the Portland Trailblazers, their center position is the one position where they would really like to have some young talent. Because you got Anthony Simons, Scoot Henderson, Shaedon Sharpe. Those are your 1, 2, 3 spots. What you want then is Deandre Ayton. He's 25 years old and he's got potential. Not to mention, this deal also allowed the Portland Trailblazers to get off of Jusuf Nurkic's contract. And we know through reporting by reporters who are close to the team that they've been wanting to do that all summer. Now, it's possible that if they traded Dame to Miami, that third team that got Tyler Hero could have also absorbed Nurkic's contract, but that sounds a lot more difficult to me. And I think getting DeAndre Ayton back is also good because he can also help you win some games now. I don't expect the Portland Trailblazers to make the playoffs because the Western Conference is so deep with so many good teams. With that being said, if you look at Portland's history as a franchise, I talked about this in my recap video where I talked about the Damian Lillard era in Portland and what went wrong. But if you look at the Blazers franchise history, dating all the way back to Kiki Vandeweghe in the 70s, leading up to this era in the Damian Lillard era, they have close to as many playoff appearances as any other franchise. I don't think this is an ownership group that is interested in tearing it down completely and just stockpiling draft picks, the way the Sixers were doing years ago or the way the Houston Rockets have done the past few years. I think this is a franchise and an ownership group that is pretty eager to do quick rebuilds and to quickly become a playoff team again. And so DeAndre Ayton kind of speeds up their timeline just a little bit because he's already an above average player that they can slot in and give some minutes to. So from that angle, again, I think it fits the Blazers really well. And listen, I understand Heat fans are upset about this, and there is also reporting in that same Athletic article that when the Blazers and Heat were first negotiating Damian Lillard trade talks, the Blazers apparently wanted the Heat to give up either Jimmy Butler or Bam Adebayo, which is just ludicrous. I mean, if that is true, that is really some pretty lowballing business negotiation on the part of Joe Cronin and the Blazers front office. But also, I don't think there is a reason to be too conspiratorial about this trade because you have a lot of people saying like, oh no, Joe Cronin just wanted to show Dame up. The Blazers are so upset with Dame. They just wanted to trade him somewhere where he didn't want to be. They wanted to purposely screw over the Miami Heat because they felt insulted by Pat Riley's offer. The Heat just don't have any good assets outside of Jimmy and Bam. They just don't. I mean, they've now been linked to Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell, Bradley Beal, and they've missed out on all three. And now the fourth one, Damian Lillard. And all times they've missed, they've definitely tried to trade for those guys, and they just couldn't because nobody wants their guys. People just don't think Tyler Hero is that valuable at $30 million a year, and they just don't like the Heat's first round picks because, well, unlike a team like the Milwaukee Bucks, perhaps, the Heat, especially with Pat Riley, have always been so aggressive trading away their first round picks that they just remain competitive pretty much every single year. And I think other teams in the NBA see that and they're like, well, if I get your first round pick, there's almost no chance, even if it's unprotected, there's almost no chance it turns out to be an actually good pick. And the last thing I want to talk about is the relationship between Portland and Damian Lillard, because it's clear from the reporting and from some of the stuff that we've heard that towards the end of these trade talks, that relationship really deteriorated between the front office and Damian Lillard. And I'm not going to necessarily put blame on one party more than the other, but I will just say that it was pretty clear the Blazers, when they re-signed Jeremy Grant to that massive 5-year deal, that they did it in large part either to appease Damian Lillard or assuming that Damian Lillard wanted to stay in Portland and wanted to keep, the good players around. And if not for Dame, they probably wouldn't have given Grant, who's 29 years old, that huge contract. And a few days after they gave Grant that contract, Damian Lillard requested a trade. So that probably rubbed the Blazers front office the wrong way. And of course, the public trade demand that Damian Lillard had, where he was so insistent on only going to one team and really spoiling the market to some extent for the Blazers front office, That again rubbed them the wrong way. But with all that being said, at the end of the day, I think the Blazers did right by Damian Lillard 100%. Okay? Even though Lillard made it clear his number one choice was Miami, as a player, it is unreasonable for you to say, like, you can only trade me to one possible team. And Damian Lillard has made a lot of noise, right, in recent years about, I just want to win a championship. I just want to win a ring. You know, I would love to do it in Portland, but I just care so much about winning that championship. And for Dame, listen, if Dame is on it, you know, and he is who he says he is, and he really does just care about the championship, there is no way he can possibly complain about being traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, who are now the Vegas favorites to win the NBA championship. So yeah, just in conclusion, I thought about this a lot, and I really do think Portland made the right trade at the end of the day for their franchise. And in the process of doing so, they did not disrespect Damian Lillard in any way whatsoever. So yeah, that's all I have to say. If you haven't watched it yet, you can watch my recap on the Bucks side of this deal, where I covered how Damian Lillard impacts Milwaukee. And I'm also going to release a video on the Phoenix Suns and discuss what this trade means for them.